I am not suicidal.
Stop laughing about facts.
I am not suicidal, and I am innocent. I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
All right, that was Jussie Smollett going to the Cook County Jail after he was sentenced on Thursday, and now already here we are, and he's trying to get out. There's a lot of moving parts right now. That's why I've got to bring in Court TV crime and justice reporter Joy Lim-Nakrin, who is with us here. Okay, so his attorney's filing some sort of an emergency motion trying to get him out?
Yeah, they're trying to get him out of jail and essentially saying that he's not safe there. This is primarily based on some claims by his family that they received a really disturbing phone call in graphic detail, essentially threatening to sodomize Jussie Smollett. Yeah, I mean, it even referenced a case in New York City where a prisoner was sodomized with a broomstick in the 90s by a police officer, and really chilling. And I actually listened to that call, but we don't play that sort of really disturbing graphic content here on Court TV. But I will just share. I mean, there was like an evil laugh. It was very, very chilling, and it went into a lot of detail with expletives about what the plans were for Jussie and what the hope was that Jussie would suffer.
Right, I would be alarmed too, but who received the call? What was the nature of the call?
Yeah, so
how would someone have a phone number to call?
Right, so this was actually, great question, a phone number listed as an emergency contact for Jussie on the county paperwork, and it was one of the
jail.
That's right, and one of the siblings received the phone call. So, it's interesting. We have heard Jussie's brother being very active on social media, raising concerns about Jussie's safety, his mental health. He, a few days ago, was on social media basically telling the world that, his brother is in a psych ward, that the conditions are awful. And then just yesterday, posted that Jussie is now out of the psych ward, thanking supporters for rallying around him and essentially accomplishing that for Jussie. And with that post, which, by the way, the hashtag was Free Jussie, he also posted a phone number, which I called, and it goes to the Department of Corrections for Cook County. And that is what supporters were advised in this post to call if they wanted to reach out and check in on Jussie. In fact, we actually have the video from that Instagram post. Let's listen.
Day 5 update on Jussie. So I just got to see him. Just wanted to give y'all an update on his status. Thank you so much for the support with all the hashtag Free Jussie. It's working. He's now been moved to a new jail cell out of a psych ward that has a bed. Before he was sleeping on a restraint bed, and now he's been moved to a jail cell that actually has a bed.
Yeah, so, is he in the psych ward? Is he not in the psych ward? That's actually something that we at Court TV asked Tamara Walker, who is Jussie's attorney, and she didn't want to disclose his location because of the safety concerns.
All right, getting back to that phone call, so if someone makes a threat like that, you want to figure out who made the call. Was there any indication of who made the call? Was there caller ID? Has law enforcement gotten their hands on the call? Have they tried to track down who this person is making this alleged threat?
Yeah, so these are great questions, right? And I think you raised the concern initially before we actually went on air. Question, I should say. How is it that TMZ had the video, and yet it wasn't clear at that particular time when we were discussing prepping for the show whether law enforcement had the video? So we asked Tamara Walker, the attorney, does law enforcement have this video? Are they looking into that? And she said, we're working with authorities essentially to, turn over the evidence and for them to look into it. But the last statement that we got from Cook County, in fact, if we could share part of that, we prepared this statement, the graphics for it. Regarding reports of threatening, hateful, and racist calls received by the family, the sheriff's office strongly urges the family to report these alleged calls to local law enforcement. As with all individuals in custody, the safety and security of Mr. Smollett is the sheriff's office primary concern. That was yesterday, okay? They didn't say the family has reported this to us, we're looking into it.
Right, but TMZ had it before the sheriff. That's interesting.
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay, and final question. One of his co-stars showing a lot of support online for Jussie?
Yeah, and this is in line with what we saw during sentencing, where there were celebrities and high-profile individuals giving statements on behalf of Jussie, as there were pleas for a lighter sentence and leniency. But Taraji P. Henson, one of his Empire co-stars, posted on Instagram, "I'm not here to debate you on his innocence, but we can agree that the punishment does not fit the crime. Emmett Till was brutally beat and ultimately murdered because of a lie, and none of the people involved with his demise spent 1 day in jail, even after Carolyn Bryant admitted that her claims were false. No one was hurt or killed during Jussie's ordeal. He's already lost everything, everything. To me, as an artist, not being able to create that in itself is punishment enough. He can't get a job. No one in Hollywood will hire him. And again, as an artist who loves to create, that is prison. My prayer is that he's freed and put on house arrest and probation, because in this case, that would seem fair. Please, hashtag free Jussie."
Joy, great information, great reporting. Thank you so much. Let's bring back in our think tank. Michael Sterling, Ann Bremner, Rick King, patiently standing by tonight. Had to get to a lot of information here. Ann Bremner, let me start with you. This phone call, this threatening phone call, this vile phone call received by the brother. What are your thoughts about that? And the only reason I ask that is the basis of the whole case was a hoax. I can't imagine that this phone call would be fake. I'm wondering why we're not sending it to authorities and getting and investigating and tracking down the person who made the call.
I mean, exactly. I mean, another hoax. I mean, would we be surprised in this case of a major hoax that was perpetrated by the defendant in this case, and Good Morning America, and other interviews, and in front of a jury and everything else? I was thinking to myself, life doesn't imitate art; it imitates bad TV sometimes. I mean, what is this? I mean, the case is over. I mean, we're a society of laws, not men or women, or social media. Are they going to retry this whole case on social media and then inject into this threats that they're not going to report to law enforcement? I think it's a hoax.
Rick, what does your gut tell you about this call? It's a vile, vile threat.
Well, I would hate to think that this is a hoax. And so because of the family of Jussie Smollett and his friends and the people that care about him, I don't want to come off as insensitive to what might be a legitimate threat for him. And so, I think that the sheriff's office has a responsibility, care, custody, and control. They have a responsibility to look out for his well-being and make sure that he is kept in a manner with which he is safe from, as best they can. And they make provisions for celebrities and people who are ultimately maybe more vulnerable. I'm not going to pass judgment as to whether it's a hoax or not. I just say that what we should do as a society, we should want to do better. I don't know that putting Jussie Smollett in jail for 5 months changes the needle on how we're surviving as a society.
Michael, if in fact this is a legitimate threat, the phone number was given to the jail. This would implicate someone perhaps in the administration over at Cook County Jail, but they haven't received the phone call yet. What would you advise them to do if Jussie's brother receives this call? They may be suspicious of the sheriff's office. I don't know why they haven't turned it over immediately. But what are your thoughts about how to proceed to get to the truth here?
Well, Vinny, it's unfortunate that as a former federal prosecutor in this very city, that I've got some questions about Chicago Police Department and the Cook County Sheriff's Office. Operation Gray Shovel unveiled in the 80s in the office I worked in. Judges, police officers, people who were taking bribes. The Chicago Police Department pushed back when Jody Weiss was appointed as the chief of police as an FBI agent because they didn't want him holding police officers who did wrongful conduct accountable. We prosecuted John Byrd, the police officer who tortured black suspects in a confession. So you cannot be surprised that people have some questions or some hesitation in turning something over to the Chicago Police Department, to the Cook Cook County Sheriff's Office because there is a history of corruption there.
So
if I
get that, Michael, but how do you
advise them to go to the feds?
To the feds, okay.
Yeah, I would advise them to go to the feds. Yeah, I would advise them to go to the United States Attorney's Office in the Northern District of Georgia to report whatever they're seeing, because if there is some inside job with Cook County Sheriff's Office or Chicago Police Department, then those the United States Attorney's Office will uncover it, and I believe that sincerely.
Yeah, and
the implication is that every person in the jail would have to be involved in that. I actually do believe that that's a stretch. I understand there have been.
Look, everybody would have to be involved, Rick. You don't have to have everybody.
You need
involved.
a lot of people.
Some bad actors.
You need a lot of
some
people.
bad actors. Well, Operation Great Shovel. Multiple judges taking bribes, multiple prosecutors taking bribes. Like, it happens. This is Chicago.
We shall.
It's 20 years ago, right?
Yep.
22 years ago, almost, right?
We shall see. This is an unbelievable story, and it's still developing. I'm sure there'll be more news tomorrow. Our think tank with us the whole hour.